I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Camille. Today we're going around
Cam's kitchen.
There are a lot of different things happening in my kitchen every day. A lot of people have been asking me what kind of tools I have, what different things have really worked, what do I love, what do I not. We both wanted to make this video to let everyone know what were the things that really worked and what maybe weren't, how we kind of go about a GAPS week, the different things that we use and how it really enhances our life.
Everything from wanting to cook with utensils that don't add any chemicals to your food, cooking them in the best natural way, having juicers and different kind of blenders that make the different recipes a lot easier. But just so you know, you don't have to have all of these tools. They will make GAPS easier for you, especially if you're trying to be more creative with the recipes that you're creating. But if you know the basics, there's just a couple tools that will be essential for you. I survive on mainly the basic. I come over here when I want the creative meals. You can do it without these things too. So this just gives you an insight into what could be possible with all the tools and GAPS.
Essentials with the GAPS diet is making meat stock. That is like a game changer in your diet and is the backbone of really what the whole GAPS diet is based off of. Because of that, you're going to be using big whole chickens and sometimes even 2 chickens depending on how much you want to make. And so having a big pot like this is absolutely essential. We're making stock in it now, actually. It's something that I use definitely on a weekly basis. It's also nice to have a really big pot to make a lot of soups because in the GAPS diet, you're having way less fiber, and so having things that are boiled is really normal and kind of the foundation for the eating. So we make a ton of soups, and so having a big soup pot is essential. Another thing that I use all the time is the cast iron skillets. Once you use them for a while, they have a nice skimming surface, so it's easy for me to flip eggs and all those kind of things. It doesn't break up and crack. As long as you put a good layer of oil, it keeps it from rusting. And I have 2 different sizes, and that is mostly what I use for the stove, any kind of cooking. The one other thing I would recommend would be another pot, like a more medium-sized pot. That could really help just when you're trying to heat things up more quickly and not make a huge soup, but that would be a really great thing to have. To this little section, I have to tell you that these little strainers are a game changer for me. When you're making stock, anything like that, you're gonna be straining so many things. When you do GAPS, another thing that you tend to get into a lot is kefir grains to make kefir milk, and you can make so many different kefir things. But with kefir grains, you cannot use metal. You have to use plastic or nylon because there's like a chemical reaction that the grains will have when you use metal. So you have to use this different kind of strainer, but you will need that if you're going to be doing any sort of kefir milks or using any kind of kefir grains. So these 2 things are amazing and I use all the time, along with this little funnel. This is so fun. It's easy to store. You have different sizes with them, especially when I'm scooping out my yogurt or the stock or the broth into smaller jars or ghee. I like to use a funnel just so it doesn't drip everywhere and it's a lot easier to manage. So obviously a ladle is something most people have, but for GAPS it really is essential because you're using so many things like soups and stocks and big pots of yogurt. You really need a ladle to scoop all those things out.
So moving over to this side of the kitchen, we have a juicer and an immersion blender. So these things you can try to squeeze by without, but they make your life a lot easier on GAPS, especially if you are in a routine of juicing in the morning with GAPS. That's often people on the GAPS diet do a juice before they have any real food in the morning, and it's great to get the detox going and helps speed up that detox process. Also, I'm a big kombucha fan, so the juicer makes a big difference with the flavors that you add to your kombucha. Makes it a lot easier to juice anything from vegetables to fruits. These we like because they're super easy to clean. They just come off pretty easily. Has a little filter. It's a slow press juicer, so it's able to be cleaned a lot easier. Then for the immersion blender, This, it just has a little blade at the top. What's cool about this as opposed to a regular blender is that it has a cone that emulsifies things. So for recipes specifically like mayonnaise, where you have to emulsify, having this around the egg yolk and then it blends with the oil in a specific pattern before just blending it all together, you really can't make mayo without a immersion blender. So they've got a couple different speeds here. It was like less than 20 bucks off Amazon. I use it pretty much every day, especially if you're cooking gaps for yourself and not making large batch recipes. The immersion blender is nice because it's a lot of single serve things. If you want to make just a single serve smoothie, a single serve mayonnaise, or like avocado mousse or something like that, it's a small batch. Easy. And you can also make it for purees and soups. So if you blend things over the stove and then you put this together, it's what makes it that puree instead of just a soup. Great additions to your kitchen for gaps.
Now we are going to talk about one of my favorite things in the kitchen, the Berkey system. This is an incredible water filter. This has been a game changer for us. Water, people kind of forget about how essential that is to someone's diet, but we drink water more than anything else that we're eating, and the quality of water is so imperative for our body. You can read all about the Berkey online, but it essentially strips the water of all toxins and chemicals and different things lurking in our water. So it is a really great pure water that I use for drinking and all of my cooking and my stocks. It is really worth the investment in my opinion. This is our beautiful toaster oven. This is another favorite. My husband and I love this in the kitchen. It heats things up so quickly. We don't actually even own a microwave right now, especially when you're putting so much effort and energy into making GAPS food that takes so much time and is so nutritionally dense. The microwave kills so many of those nutrients. Having something like a toaster oven or like a little pot to heat up on the stove is how we heat up all our soups, all our food. But this toaster oven is just really fun because it's like an easy way. I'll make muffins in here or make full like squash and roasted veggies in here. It's just like a more portable way to roast so many things. But there's also like a lot of different functions to toast and bake and reheat and keep warm, and depending on what version of a toaster oven you get, you can use it in different ways. But we love this thing. It's not essential, but it definitely makes our life easier. Next thing I want to talk about is the Dehydrator. This was a really fun treat that my husband and I decided to purchase. It has been so much fun. We both love to go camping, so we took a trip and I dehydrated all of our chili and our food. I made beef jerky, and this was so easy to work with. You're able to cook things at a lower temperature for a longer amount of time. A thing with GAPS specifically is nuts. When you move up in the different stages, it's time to introduce nuts. You're required to soak the nuts for a certain amount of time to unlock the enzymes in the nut, and then after you soak them, you need to dehydrate them. It's really hard to do it in the oven. It is possible to do it in the oven, but usually the oven doesn't get to a low enough temperature. So the dehydrator is really awesome for that if you're making a lot of nut butters or flours, and you can just make so many things in the dehydrator that's GAPS approved, and things that are really expensive at the grocery store. GAPS things like beef jerky and dried fruit and different things like that, you can make it yourself pretty easily in the dehydrator, and that's a great thing.
Okay, so another thing we want to talk to you about is storing methods. First, we have our glass jars. This can be any glass container, but especially when we're having a lot of liquid things or needing to reheat a lot of things, we want to be storing in glass because plastic containers can seep some of that plastic into your food while it's being stored, and especially when it's being reheated. Glass is the way to go. We also have a thermos. This is the way to keep liquids or foods hot for an extended amount of time, especially when you're in the intro part of GAPS. You're gonna be needing to take food with you where you're going because it's pretty inaccessible for you to get food out and about. So if you're having to need broth come with you or soups, foods throughout the day, then you don't have to worry about reheating it anywhere, and it will already be hot and ready to go wherever you need it. Thanks for watching!
Yeah, hope you guys liked it.
This concludes our kitchen tour of Cam's kitchen.
Yeah, I hope this was helpful and just helps you navigate the different things that would work for you and your family and your budget and just starting the GAPS lifestyle.
Yeah, so let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any specific questions to things we might not have covered in this video. Specifically, maybe even some product comparisons of other things that you have heard about. Just let us know.
Yeah, so give us a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe, and we're excited to hear from you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.